Hey everybody, welcome back. Northernlion, Place of Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. I have to warn you, you're dealing with the most powerful version of myself that has existed since September, I think. The baby is here, by the way. Hello, baby. Hello. Hello. I'm just saying, I'm gonna repeat hello until I get a little smile. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. She's reticent right now. She's reticent. Let's bounce her a little bit. Anyway, how am I the most powerful version of myself since September? Well, we had, like, yesterday was my day off. Today's Sunday. It was the most productive day off like I've ever had in my entire life. We took apart the baby's crib, and we bought like this crib extending kit for the same device. It's actually kind of cool how, you know, okay, we win. We'll think about how we want to tackle this. I know the D6 is a little bit more of a fan favorite than Satanic Bible, but you gotta at least give me the opportunity to get some HP here. And then maybe we'll roll D6 following that, but, yeah, so it's actually kind of neat that, I don't know, like, previously, I guess you would maybe just buy a one-size-fits-all crib that the baby could sleep in until they're, like, a year and a half, 2 years old, I guess. But we got, like, because space is at a premium, we got, like, a tiny crib, and then, you know, when she gets a little older, which she has done, you can kind of, like, mod it and make it a little bit bigger, but, you know, I'm not the most, handy person, but I've come to respect that it's not that, you know, it's not that people are necessarily, predisposed to be handy. I mean, maybe they are, but, like, I'm trying to give myself a little bit more leniency and recognize, you know, I've put together a lot of IKEA furniture. I put together her crib the first time. Put together a lot of stuff over the past, you know, year and a half when we moved in here and had the baby, obviously. I've realized a couple of things about construction, about furniture construction. Now, if you're building something from scratch, kind of a different story. You know, I have no idea what that's like. But if you are building something from instructions, literally the best thing you can do is just be patient. Read the instructions, you know they say measure twice, cut once. I think you should read 4 times, measure twice, cut once. That's my advice for you. It's going to be a very, very annoying fight here, by the way. But we'll get through it together. But anyway, like, this is all, it's neither here nor there. We basically, the way that we're constructed the story is we moved the baby out of our bedroom. It's pretty typical to have the baby, you know, in your bedroom for the first, like, 1 to 6 months. We've been getting, not necessarily a lack of sleep in terms of, like, raw hours, but certainly a, not a very high quality of sleep, waking up a lot throughout the night to be like, you know, because we're hearing the baby make noise. Dude, I'm sticking with the Satanic Bible. I'm sorry. What, you don't like winning? I'd rather re-roll a range upgrade into a shot speed upgrade. Thank you very much. Okay, I guess you have principles and I don't. Get over it. So we took the crib apart. We extended it. We put it into the nursery that we set up, you know, back in like September, I suppose. And I gotta tell you, I had the greatest sleep of my life. Probably not the actual greatest sleep of my life, but I slept from like 11 till 8 a.m. essentially uninterrupted. And, you know, for all the talk about how, like, oh, I'm not that tired, you know, I can see, like, a general degradation of my physical state when I make YouTube thumbnails. Like, when I have a decent sleep, I'm like, yeah, that's roughly what I look like. Then I was setting videos from, like, Thursday's stream. One of my eyes was half closed. I have, like, I have a lazy eye due to astigmatism that really starts to show up when I'm either intoxicated or tired. And, mostly tired these days. But if you look at a photo of me, if you ever see me, like, my left eye is showing up for work and my right eye is still on the train, odds are baby kept me awake that night, for a little bit anyway. But I woke up this morning and I felt so powerful. I I've never, I think, woken up from a sleep and had like that classic like movie wake up where it's like, it's a beautiful morning. And you know, I don't mean to put my wife on blast, but I think she's still in the middle of having that beautiful sleep because I went upstairs to put some clothes on, and she woke up a little bit, like she stirred, and she said, "Happy birthday." And I went, "What?" And she said, "Happy birthday." And I went, "It's neither of our birthdays?" And then she said, "Yeah, it's my mom's." And I just kind of laughed at her, and then she went like, and she went back to sleep. So I think she's, look, you might think that, you know, that I'm putting her on blast like that. Not at all. I talk in my sleep. I do all sorts of dumb stuff in my sleep. It's crazy. I don't like sleepwalk or anything like that. I think we will try this. We're close to spun. Yeah, that pretty much was just like universally great there. It was only like, I don't know, less than a month ago where I like woke up from sleep and tried to give her one of my earbuds, and then she was like, "I don't need those, I have my own," and I was like, "Fine, sue yourself." the brain, when still, you know, straddling the plane between sleep and wakefulness, is it's a strange creature, that's for sure. It's a strange being. Now this run, you can call me a coward if you like. A streak is built on solidity, solid plays, doing the right thing. We've had some Zane, we've done some full run rerolls, we've had some, like, you know, soy milk dabbling, we've dabbled with the milk substitutes. By the way, I forgot to mention, we don't talk about repentance all that often just because I think it's going to make the wait that much longer. But one of the developers working on repentance tweeted about the, well, no, let me rephrase. I think Ed tweeted this Steam update where one of the programmers was talking about how they like fixed synergies in repentance, and I gotta say, this is not just like, oh, I'll say positive stuff about Isaac no matter what. Bless you, baby. The synergies are like one of the strongest elements of this game. I feel like sometimes, at least right now, it's kind of easy to forget that just because we've seen most of them 20 times each, if not more. But they appear to have reworked the synergy system to the effect that everything synergizes like the way you would expect, if that makes sense. So instead, the example that I saw that really kind of brought it home for me was, I think they had one run that was like Monstro's Lung technology. I'm pretty sure in this version of the game right here, Monstro's Lung technology is like, Monstro's Lung gives you a tiers upgrade, but you still just shoot the same, you know, type of tier. In Repentance, it works the way you would expect, which is you shoot out a bunch of, like, little lasers from your mouth that have limited range. So I can't even imagine. I mean, first off, you never know, like, if it's gonna work out with, like, 100% of the synergies in the game. But it might, you know, again, this is kind of like, it's a complex, not just, like, engineering problem, but a complex, like, you know, game design problem to begin with as well. Like, some of the synergies you have to imagine are, like, contradictory, or maybe would even be broken, if that makes sense. So, and it's complicated enough, I can't think of any examples, like, right off the top of my head, but there's, like, countervailing tier effects, right? Like, what about one tier effect that gives you infinite range, and one tier effect that gives you, like, 1/10 of your range? I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But, if it actually manages to work like that, even if it's not for every single synergy in the game, that's incredible. Like, the way I understand it in, Rebirth, Afterbirth, Afterbirth Plus, is that they basically had to custom code the synergies. So, like, human labor would be like, oh, if you get, you know, brimstone in mom's knife, you should shoot a laser made of knives, you know? Which is cool, don't get me wrong. But the idea that you could maybe do it programmatically and thus have it... It's not that I think, like, the algorithm would do a better job of it. It's rather that, you know, the bummer is that in the current version of Isaac, there's a lot of situations where you're like, oh, these two items should have, like, a cool synergy. You know, what if I get, like, anti-grav tears and skipping stones? Like, do my tears, like, skip and then hover and skip and hover? Or, you know, and instead you get it and you're like, oh, they just, you know. You get the idea. They don't really do that. Actually, there might be a synergy between those two, but yeah, no, it was like, I know you're like, doesn't sound like it's that productive of a day off. You unbuilt, you disassembled and then reassembled the baby's crib. You gotta understand, I am a chronic overestimator of how much time something will take, and my wife is a chronic underestimator. She said, how long do you think it'll take to get this done? I said an hour. She said, I thought it would be like 10 minutes. It ended up taking like 40 minutes, I would say, so the real answer was somewhere in the middle. But then on top of that, like right after we did that, we were like, oh, well, we got like some baby stuff that, you know, we're getting out of phase 1. Like she is still a newborn, don't get me wrong. She's 4 months old now, but like, you know, there's some stuff that we are basically like, we're not going to use at this point. Like, you know, we got like some leftover, and by leftover I mean like literally unused formula that we're like, we're in a good enough routine now, we don't think we're gonna need this. You know, there's some quite a lot of baby clothes actually that she has grown out of, because when you're having a baby, people give you a lot of baby clothes, which is great. We never really had to worry about like shopping for them, but at the same time, you're like, we got 12 0 to 3 month onesies. And she's only going to be 0 to 3 months for 90 days. So you really don't... no, I think we can do better here. You really don't end up using them for too long. But, you know, again, it's a little wasteful, but it's also very nice, for sure, to have had so many. Because you know, you're taking a lot of photos. She's wearing a different outfit every day, basically. Looking cute as a button. So yeah, we drove that stuff to the baby donation place, and we had a bunch of our own clothes to donate, and then did all the laundry and vacuumed the whole house, cooked, etc. So like it was a very busy day. Look, okay, I'll meet you in the middle. We'll take Zodiac, even though I think Zodiac is not very good. May actively be very bad, actually. So I didn't really... It's not a negative. If we get a deal with the devil, we can turn that into 3 spirit hearts. So I'm not going to go there just yet. But, you know, there's some... You gotta... how many times have I said it, you know? And people get annoyed sometimes when I say it. But, you know, as an adult, having... That's why, like, I think at some point, probably in the next couple of years, I'll probably pivot to the traditional, like, 2-day weekend. Even if that means, you know, adding a little bit of extra time into the 5-day work week in order to counterbalance it. Like, basically, if you add in, like, you know, an hour and a half a day, and you take it from 6 to 5, you basically turn out even, right? But, like, the first day of your weekend in your 30s, not so much in my 20s, but the first day of my weekend in my 30s essentially is just, okay, let's knock out all the chores that we were too busy to do this week, especially with the baby, you know, because you're constantly like redlined on effort. So if you want that, I'll definitely take that. If you want that day where you can wake up at 7:30 and cook a delicious breakfast, and you know, maybe go take a walk in the farmer's market, that's what the Sunday's for. Or alternatively, that's what the Saturday's for, and then the Sunday is like, you know, rise and shine. We're on vacuum duty. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. But yeah, she had an amazing sleep as well. I'm not jealous. I'm thankful. You know what? Who dares wins, man. Okay, I would not recommend it, but thought it could be fun regardless. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much my Saturday. It was not a bad Saturday. It was just a busy Saturday. Played a little bit more Slay the Spire on the Xbox One. I know you're like, why would you play it on the Xbox One? I've said it a billion times. A billion times. It's just nice to be on the couch sometimes. You know that meme that's like, oh, I'm so sick of looking at work screen. Can't wait to go home so I can look at home screen? That's how I feel about my sitting situation sometimes. Like, oh, I'm so tired of sitting on desk chair. Can't wait to sit on pillow chair instead. Yeah, you know what I mean, baby? She's like, you know exactly what I mean. Because she's like, oh, I'm sick of laying in bouncing chair. I'd like to be on sleeping chair instead. Oh, I'm sick of laying on sleeping chair. I'd like to be on bouncing chair. I'd like to be on the chair where I can, like, use my legs to jump. How about getting on the chair in the bathtub so that, you know, she knows what's up. She knows what's up. Alright, Necropolis XL. This run is obviously, like, it's kind of set already. Which is pretty exciting for me. Speaking of which, I do need to ergo myself a little bit. The ergonomics have taken a bit of a hit. Because I'm sitting in the chair, and my left leg is, like, doing normal left leg stuff. You know, it's kind of just resting on my footrest. My right leg, you know, I've turned it essentially 60 degrees to the right at the knee, which is not openly uncomfortable, but I think can't be good for it long term. And I'm using my foot to bounce the baby chair simultaneously. That's not good for ergonomics. So, you know, I think I talked about this on stream, but I always thought it was, you know, it's very easy to feel like you're built different, right? Like Josh and I talked about many times, like, oh, if you're gastrointestinal, and this is just the folly of a young man, honestly. You come by it honestly because, you know, you think you're invincible. Even if you're inoculated to that idea, like, oh, you know, people my age think they're invincible. They'll, like, do backflips on a dirt bike and, you know, wake up feeling great. I'm not like that. You're still probably like that, because you're, you know, posting stuff online like, I'm not gonna wash my hands, because I just don't get sick. I just don't get hangovers. Ha ha ha, you know? It's the folly of a young man, let me tell you. Like, sometimes, you know, occasionally, like, we'll talk about nutrition on the show. We never do it from the position of like, hey, here's what you gotta do. Mostly we're just like, you know, I'd like to be healthy, but I also like to eat corn-based snacks with powdered cheese on them. And then we go, yeah, that's tough. So many people in chat, you know, they'll be like, just eat whatever you want and don't gain weight, forehead. It's not that hard. Like, I don't exercise and I'm still skinny. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at your username. Username is like Naruto Lover 2003. You're 18 years old right now. You, of course, no, like, I'm not saying you can't be out of shape at 18. I'm merely suggesting that, you know, there's a little bit of a difference metabolically between your average, you know, high school senior and your average 32-year-old desk jockey, you know? We're not the same. You gotta understand, you know? So I used to, like, in the same way, you know, and, you know, I didn't finish my train of thought about the spicy food, but, you know, Josh and I would be like, well, you got something wrong with your GI tract if you get, like, diarrhea after you eat spicy food. And then, wouldn't you know it, you know, my 30s crept up on me, and, you know, I'm not exactly the fastest person off the draw, so, you know, it took me, like, 6 or 7 times being like, huh, it's really weird how, like, I have some traumatic bathroom trips every time I order lamb vindaloo, you know? Well, isn't that weird? I don't know, it must just be something in the air. But it's the same, like, I would always hear, like, even people my age start to be like, oh, back pain. Oh, I have back pain all the time. It sucks, back pain. I was like, back pain? Why don't you just, like, be me and not have back pain, despite having essentially never done anything to try to minimize it? And then, you know, we have our kid, and all of a sudden I'm like, why does my back hurt so much? And I totally get it. Even though the baby is not that heavy, holding the baby statically in your hands for like a couple of hours a day, leaning over, taking the baby out of the crib, putting the baby on, like, the diaper changing pad, you know, etc., etc., lifting the baby into and out of the bathtub, bouncing the baby, you know, it's not the... It's not like a immediate traumatic, you know, blast of lactic acid. I think the tendons in your body are, like, you know, or the muscles in your back, rather, they're not designed to, like, hold a weight in front of you for a sustained period of time. Really, they're designed to keep you, you know, walking upright, I think, for the most part. And also doing bent over rows, but that's, you know, not doing too much of that right now. So yeah, I'm starting to realize that, you know, like all those, like you ever, and again, this is, you're gonna be like, no, but honestly, I bet if I audited everything you'd ever said, I bet you're lying to me. But there have been times, you know, as a younger man where I would like watch TV, and there's so many ads, especially like on American TV. I don't know if it's like, it's just deregulated or something, but like every third ad on American TV, no thank you. Eden's Blessing is fun, but we're not gonna breeze through Boss Rush. But every third ad on American TV is for some kind of medication. And you know, when you're like 14 years old, if you're blessed enough to be, you know, of good health, you kind of watch those ads and you're like, to some extent, incredulous at least. You're like, really? Like, high blood pressure? Like, just don't get high blood pressure, forehead. Like, it's just as simple. Meanwhile, you're eating like a whole bag of Cheetos in a single sitting, but because you're 14 years old, you're burning it off like twice as quick, right? That was not smart. That was not a smart play. Let me tell you, you shouldn't disbelieve the adults. About this, at least. You shouldn't disbelieve the adults. It could happen to you. It may not. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't like this floor. Get me out of here. So anyway, that was my day off. Reconciling that, you know, got a little back pain. But I'm pretty sure the back pain is just as a result of the fact that, you know, I'm picking up the child. And you know that, like, you know, there's that classic internet, you know, like, bring a tear to your face. One day, your parents picked you up for the last time. You didn't even realize it, man. Isn't that messed up? I'm kind of like, oh, one day I'm going to pick her up for the last time. She does not, she's looking at me like, what? What do you you just started? Yeah, I know, but one day you're going to be too heavy for me to pick up. And you know, as a toddler, you might say something, or, you know, even when you get slightly older, you'll be like, I hate you, daddy. And then I'll be like, all right, less picking up the baby, more deadlifting. Here we go. Back in the gym. Back in the gym, gang. I'm being facetious, of course. I mean, it's a melancholic thought for sure. But the ligaments do be feeling pretty good, though. Anyway, I'm excited for this upcoming week of content. We are, tomorrow is February. I don't think it's any, like, secret. You know, I don't necessarily believe in the concept of, like, Blue Monday, which is that idea that, like, you know, the third Monday in January is, like, the day where people feel the worst or whatever, like, mentally, mood-wise. But I definitely think, like, you know, January sucks. Doesn't mean good things can't happen in January, but, like, depending on where you live, you know, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, the, you know, weather in January tends to be bad. Even places where, like, they don't get a harsh winter. Like, I mean, Vancouver doesn't get a harsh winter. It may snow on occasion, you know, it hails on occasion, but it rains a lot. But even in Vancouver, people are like, oh, you know, if you're coming to this city, you gotta come in January. I think even if you live in, like, Texas, you're not like, oh, January's the... that's the dream. You know, if you live in a super warm place, I think you're like, oh, the spring is really nice. Obviously, you know, depending on where you live, you know, if you're in Canada or the US, there's a lot of, I just don't want to do this just because I don't know where we'd be standing anymore. You know, a lot of snow and a lot of, like, you know, sub-zero temperatures and etc., etc. Sub-zero temperatures, don't get over here. That's Scorpion, baby. That's you. Nice try. You almost had him. But yeah, and then, like, on top of that, there's the fact that it comes after December, which is usually one of the best months. And then there's the fact that it's the start of a new year, which is good. You know, it's nice to, like, audit your habits and stuff like that and be like, you know, this year, what could I do differently to make my life better and yada, yada, yada. So I think there comes with a certain sense of renewal there, but there's also, like, I mean, there's a lot of errands that you have to run on, like, an annual basis. And, you know, presumably by the time December rolls around, you're like, I got them all done. And then you get a month of being like, I'm ahead of the curve. And then January 1st rolls around, and you're getting emails from your accountants, hey, can you give me, like, these bank statements and stuff like that? You're getting, you know, oh, it's time to talk about, you know, insurance renewals and yada, yada, yada. You know, it's the start of, your to-do list is never as long as it is, you know, in January. So, January kind of sucks. February's a little better, but still pretty bad. Again, not to say you can't have, like, an amazing February. I'm just saying, like, if you did the same things in February that you did in June, you would probably be like, June was more fun. But, you know, it means we're getting closer to March, baby. And I think March is where things start to pick up a little bit. You'll start to have some days that are like, woo, this is, like, kind of unseasonably warm for the month. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's April, and in April you may genuinely have a day where you walk outside and it's like, you know, 4:30 p.m. and you see the sun and you're like, lovely day, gonna be a lovely day, you know? She's like, what are you talking about? You know, baby, it's Bill Withers, Lovely Day, the song from that McDonald's breakfast commercial. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be McMuffin Day. Sorry, she actually found herself quite amused by that. Isn't that true? Isn't that something? Anyway, yeah, but I'm looking forward to this week of content. I think I will be doing some gaming this week. Last week hit a good balance, I think, of gaming and non-gaming. I think this week I'm very much ready to engage in some games. I've almost, and it's a scary thing to mention, but I got myself feeling the itch a little bit for like a longer playthrough. And I, you know, trust me, I'm full on suggestions. I know that sounds rude, but in all likelihood, you're probably just going to suggest one of the same 5 or 6 games that has been suggested. And I don't say that as, like, I don't think you have new ideas. I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of stuff that comes up a lot. If anything, I should treat that as, like, as an indicator. I think that these would be more likely to be good fits based on the number of people suggesting them. Man, oh man. I mean, you're going to make me... Oh, no. Lord forgive me, but I'm about to go back to the old me. I still very much harbor the belief that most video games are too long. And I know it's whiny, so whiny, but I kind of wish, I mean, at this point, I guess we might as well just roll this bad boy, right? I don't mind a AAA game, you know? But I do wish that more AAA games were in the short range as opposed to the long range. Now, you get to choose how to play this one if you're on the countervailing side, right? Are you going to play it from an economics level? Oh, well, you know, I don't want a 12-hour game because games are, you know, $60. Okay, that's fine, but, you know, I thought we were in the business of being more mature than that, and we were treating games, you know, as art rather than commodity, and, you know, looking at games as, you know, the value proposition was not merely, like, number of dollars paid versus, you know, the amount of hours that you get out of it. You know, I thought we had moved past that as a society. Or you could say, like, and here's the argument that I think blows me out a little bit. There are a lot of shorter games. Yeah, there are, but they're not Tomb Raider, you know? I guess what I'm saying is I want like 5-hour AAA games, which I know would probably get absolutely lambasted in the Metacritic user scores. But for me, because I'm like, let me just be honest with you, I'm looking at like a couple of games right now. One of them is Death Stranding, and I think that Death Stranding, you know, when here's a great piece of advice for streamers, depending on how you like to stream at least. And you got to keep in mind, you know, and I'm spinning off tangent after tangent here, but you got to keep in mind the last super long game I played on stream ended up being Dark Souls 2, and it kind of like it kind of cratered a little bit of my viewership for like 4 months, right? So, which I should have just been like, I'm gonna restart this with a sword or something like that, but I didn't because I'm stubborn as well. It's a lot of things working against me, you know, a lot of unsynergies, if you will. So I'm now like I'm very careful because it's I want to say no to 20 games before I say yes to one, because they could be a 30 to 50 hour investment of stream time, right? You know, it could be like 3% of your stream for the year or something like that. Which is a big deal. It might seem like 3% is small, but I don't know. Maybe, well, I'm not going to let you set the dividend for my favorite. Okay, anyway, moving on. Sorry, I'm trying to delete it. Give me this, please. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. One of them is Death Stranding. I think Death Stranding is at the top of the list just because, you know, it looks like the average playthrough is about, you know, 40 hours. And please do me the favor, okay? Don't be the guy who's like, did you know me super beat the game in 26 minutes using a glitch through the chiral network? Okay, cool, yeah. Was that on his first run? Was that on his first blind run that he did that? That's incredible. How did they know to invite him to AGDQ for a blind run for, like, because it's not, yeah, okay, like, it's the, literally, like, I'm not trying to be mad at the audience or anything like that, but you hear that joke so much, you think it's hilarious, but really you've become the guy at the office who says, like, working hard or hardly working. Or you become the, you know, on, like, the hottest day of the year, you become the guy who greets the grocery store cashier with, like, oh, hot enough for you out there? You know, like, it's just, you know, your joke is just, it's canned. You got it out of a tin. But anyway, sorry, pog. But it's long for sure. But also it seems so weird and honestly so uniquely tailored for my strengths and weaknesses as a content creator. For example, what is my strength as a content creator? I can talk about anything despite what's happening on the screen. And in many ways, this has caused me crises of faith over the years as I realize that why am I even playing video games when people mostly just want to hear my thoughts on, like, what the heck is AM radio, you know? What are my weaknesses as a content creator? Not so good at the games some of the time, and even more than being not so good, I think the cardinal sin, which is, again, it feeds into the strength, actually, but the cardinal sin is kind of an inattentiveness or even a disdain for attentiveness, right? And I think that playing a game where you can literally just walk through, like, Iceland with a bunch of Amazon boxes on your back, it appeals to me, and it's kind of one of a kind, right? And then people, they very much get the wrong idea about my idea with how I feel about game stories. It's not that I dislike a game that has lore, it's that so many games I feel like ask you to care about lore, but it's just not very good. Now, I'm not talking about God of War, which is a story that I can at least acknowledge I think was done very well, even if it didn't necessarily resonate with me as much as it resonated with other people. But yeah, like, so many games start with, like, you know, 10,000 years ago in the land of Listeria lived a king who was also a duck. And you're like, oh, okay, here we go. And then, no, don't tell me that an evil fog created by a goose wizard came down. Like, I would just get to the part where we match 3, please. Can we just start matching 3? I don't need a conceit to start matching 3. Just send me, dude. That's why I like Slay the Spire. It's a great mechanics game. It opens with, like, a little text that's like, go up, forehead. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Anyway. Like, and the perfect example that I could come up with is that, you just walked right on it, huh? Is Going Under. Like, Going Under has a lot of dialogue, but I think it's actually pretty well written, and it's structured, and it's funny. And as a result, I found myself skipping not as much of it. Still quite a lot, but not as much of it as I, like, roll my eyes at, you know, something like Spec Ops The Line or something like that, which I know was not gaining me any fans to say it. I'm just saying. But yeah, I actually, like, in the little that we played of Death Stranding back when it came out on PC, I found myself, like, very much engrossed in the cutscenes because you never know what's going to happen next. You play your average AAA game, you're like, I know what's going to happen next. The bad guys are going to kill his wife, and that's going to, you know, that's going to give him his motivation for the rest of the game. In Death Stranding, you never know. Sometimes Guillermo del Toro's going to show up, and he'll be eating a Twinkie, and you're like, what the heck? And they're like, he's Eat Twinkieman. Really? That you named him Eat Twinkieman? Okay. You know what? I gotta see where this is going. It's like I never played, well, okay, let me rephrase. I played about 3 hours of Metal Gear Solid 5, and I consider it a good investment. I played through the opening prologue, where I had essentially no idea whatsoever what was going on at all, but there was what appeared to be G-Dragon from the world of K-pop, but also he was a firebender, and it was just like, I was like, this is great. You know, there's some novelty, at least in the story here, that interests me. So you might say, like, oh, NL, like, there's gonna be like a whole stream that's just cutscenes. Actually, doesn't bother me in the slightest. I mean, I've watched movies before. I've even watched, you know, movies or TV shows on stream. Love to watch things that are interesting. I mean, who doesn't? But yeah, I don't think the story in that would be a problem. Anyway, the other thing that is, and it's recently moved from a never, no chance, to a possibility. Let's call it a remote possibility. But is Yakuza 0, okay? And if you wanted to go back into the never camp, just start going, no, don't do Yakuza 0, do Yakuza 6 first, and then do Yakuza 0, and then you can play Like a Dragon, and then Kiwami, and then, you know, look, the one that shows up the most right now is Yakuza 0 in the recommendations. 35 hours average on howlongtobeat.com. But people, the way that they tickle my fancy is they say it could be like a little Fallout New Vegas style. And I go, ooh. For now, though, that was an easy win. Right, baby? If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. And I'm live, Sunday to Friday, twitch.tv/Northernlion. Today is a Sunday. Why don't you come check it out? Twitch.tv/Northernlion. Thanks for watching. Click the like button if you enjoyed the episode. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future, and I'll see you next time. See ya!